Have you ever met someone who makes six figures but still lives paycheck to paycheck? Or someone who got a huge raise and somehow ended up with less money at the end of the month? Or someone who's been trying to save for 5 years but still has nothing in the bank? Here's what nobody tells you about staying broke. It has almost nothing to do with how much money you make. Here at Simple Money, we've analyzed thousands of people's financial situations. And what we've discovered is that the difference between people who build wealth and people who stay broke isn't about income. It's not about budgets. It's not even about willpower. It's about invisible psychological traps that are so subtle, most people don't even know they're caught in them. And I'm going to show you exactly what these traps are, how they work, and why you've probably fallen into at least 3 of them without even realizing it. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And that awareness alone might be worth more than any raise you'll ever get. Here's what's really happening. Most people think being broke is a math problem. You spend more than you earn. Simple, right? So the solution must be to earn more or spend less. But here's the thing. That's not how it actually works. You've probably seen this yourself. Someone gets promoted and suddenly their lifestyle inflates to match their new salary. Someone else makes $30,000 a year and somehow saves money. Another person makes $200,000 and has nothing to show for it. The pattern doesn't make sense until you realize what's actually going on. Being broke isn't a math problem. It's a psychology problem. It's about the invisible stories we tell ourselves, the tiny decisions we make every single day, the ways our brains sabotage us that we don't even notice. Think about it this way. Imagine your finances are like a bucket with holes in it. Most people focus on pouring more water in. They chase raises, they work overtime, they hustle for more income. But they never look at the holes. And those holes? They're getting bigger every year. Some holes are obvious. The subscriptions you forgot about, the impulse purchases, the expensive coffee habit everyone jokes about. But the real damage comes from the holes you can't see. The psychological patterns that drain your wealth so slowly and quietly that you don't even notice until years have passed and you're wondering why you have nothing to show for all that hard work. And here's what makes this so cruel. These patterns feel completely normal. They feel like just living your life. They feel like things everyone does. That's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Let me explain the first trap. I call this the lifestyle creep monster. Here's how it works. You get a raise. Let's say you go from making $50,000 a year to $60,000. That's an extra $10,000. That's huge, right? So what do most people do? They think, finally, I can afford that nicer apartment. Or, I can finally upgrade my car. Or, I deserve to eat out more often. And here's the thing. They're not wrong. They can afford those things. The math checks out. But what they don't realize is that they've just locked themselves into a new, more expensive baseline. That nicer apartment isn't a one-time cost. It's now your permanent rent. That car payment isn't going away. Those dinners out become the new normal. 6 months later, you're making more money than ever before. But you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Because your expenses rose to meet your income. Let me give you a specific example. Meet David. David got promoted and went from making $60,000 to $85,000 a year. That's a $25,000 raise. That's incredible. Life-changing money, right? So David moved to a nicer apartment. Just $300 more per month. That's reasonable. He also bought a nicer car. The payment was only $400 a month. Still totally affordable with his new salary. He started going out more because, hey, he could finally enjoy life. Maybe an extra $200 a month on restaurants and bars. He upgraded his wardrobe for his new position. Another $100 a month on average. He got a gym membership at a nicer gym. $80 a month. None of these decisions felt extravagant. They all felt reasonable, justified even. But let's do the math. That's over $1,000 a month in new expenses. $12,000 a year. David's $25,000 raise just became a $13,000 raise. And that's just the obvious stuff. There were also the little things. Better coffee, nicer groceries, a vacation he felt he deserved, gifts for friends at a higher price point because he didn't want to seem cheap. Within a year, David was making $85,000 and feeling just as broke as when he made $60,000. Maybe even more broke because now he had all these new commitments he couldn't downgrade without feeling like a failure. This is the lifestyle creep monster. And here's why it's so insidious. Your brain adapts to your new lifestyle in about 3 months. That nicer apartment that felt so luxurious, it becomes normal. You stop noticing it, the joy fades. But the cost? That stays forever. You've traded temporary happiness for permanent expense. And you didn't even get to keep the happiness. Wealthy people understand this. When they get a raise, they increase their lifestyle a little bit, but they increase their savings rate a lot. Most people do the opposite. They increase their lifestyle a lot and their savings, maybe later. When things calm down, when they get the next raise. But the next raise just triggers the same pattern. And suddenly 10 years have passed and you've made $1 million in total income and you have nothing. The second trap is what I call the proximity tax. This one is painful because it feels like you're just being social, just fitting in, just being a good friend. Here's how it works. The people around you have a massive influence on your spending. Massive. More than you realize. If your friends go out to expensive dinners, you go to expensive dinners. If your coworkers all drive nice cars, you feel pressure to drive a nice car. If your social circle takes exotic vacations, suddenly a normal vacation feels inadequate. You start spending money not because you want to, but because that's what your proximity circle does. And if you don't keep up, you feel left out. Cheap. Less than. This is the proximity tax. And it's destroying your finances. Let me paint a specific picture. You have a friend group. Great people. You love them. But they all make a bit more money than you. Not a ton more. Just enough that their baseline spending is higher. They suggest dinner at a nice restaurant. $60 per person. You can technically afford it, but it's more than you wanted to spend. Do you say no and risk being the broke friend? Do you skip it and miss out on social time? Most people say yes. Because it's just one dinner, right? But it's not one dinner. It's one dinner this week, brunch next week, someone's birthday the week after, a concert next month, a weekend trip next quarter. Each individual expense seems manageable, but collectively, you're spending thousands of dollars a year just to keep up with people who have more financial room than you do. And here's the really cruel part. You're not even enjoying it that much. You're stressed about the money. You're worried about your credit card bill. You're telling yourself it's fine while feeling anxious every time you check your bank account. You're paying the proximity tax. And the worst part? Your friends have no idea they're charging it. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying ditch your friends. I'm not saying never spend money on social activities. That's not the point. The point is being aware that your proximity circle has a default spending level. And if that level is higher than what works for your financial goals, you have to make a choice. Either you consciously decide to spend at that level and own it, or you find ways to spend time with them that don't require matching their budget, or you expand your circle to include people with different spending patterns. But what you can't do is just drift along, saying yes to everything, and wonder why you're broke. That's not a mystery. That's just the proximity tax doing what it does. Wealthy people are very careful about who they spend time with. Not because they're snobs, but because they understand that your environment shapes your behavior. If everyone around you is spending irresponsibly, you probably will too. If everyone around you is investing and building wealth, that becomes your normal. Your friends aren't just influencing your happiness, they're influencing your bank account. The third trap is the instant gratification spiral. This one is about how our brains are fundamentally broken for modern life. Here's the thing. Your brain evolved over millions of years. For most of human history, if you saw something valuable, you took it immediately. Because it might not be there tomorrow. Resources were scarce. The future was uncertain. Immediate gratification was actually the smart move. But now? We live in a world of abundance. You can get almost anything delivered to your door in 24 hours. You can finance almost any purchase. You can buy now and pay later. Your ancient brain sees something it wants and screams, "Get it now!" But in the modern world, that instinct is bankrupting you. Every single day, you're bombarded with opportunities for instant gratification. A notification for a sale. An ad for something you didn't know you needed. A friend posting about something cool they bought. And each time, your brain has to fight the urge to get that little hit of dopamine that comes from buying something new. Most of the time, you lose that fight. Not because you're weak, but because you're fighting millions of years of evolution. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. You're scrolling Instagram, you see an ad for a really nice jacket. It's on sale. 40% off. You don't need a jacket. You have 3 jackets already. But this one looks really nice, and it's on sale. That's basically saving money, right? You click, you look at it, you imagine yourself wearing it. You can already feel how good it'll look. And it's only $90. That's not that much. You spend $90 on random stuff all the time. You buy it. You get a little rush of excitement. The package arrives 3 days later. You try it on. It's nice. You feel good for maybe an hour. Then it goes in your closet with your other 3 jackets. Within 2 weeks, you barely remember buying it. Within a month, you've completely forgotten how much you spent. But that $90 is gone forever. And that wasn't just $90. That was $90 you could have invested. In 30 years, with compound interest, that $90 could have been $800. You traded 800 future dollars for 1 hour of feeling good. Now multiply that by every impulse purchase you make. The stuff on Amazon, the premium subscription you don't really use, the lunch you bought because you didn't feel like packing, the app you downloaded and forgot about. Individually, none of these matter, but collectively, they're costing you thousands of dollars a year, tens of thousands over a decade, hundreds of thousands over a lifetime. This is the instant gratification spiral, and here's what makes it a spiral instead of just a trap. Each time you give in to the impulse, you make it easier to give in next time. You're training your brain that immediate pleasure is more important than future security. You're building a habit of trading long-term wealth for short-term comfort. And habits compound. Just like interest, except in the wrong direction. Wealthy people feel the same impulses you do. They see the same ads. They want the same things. But they've trained themselves to pause, to wait, to ask, do I actually want this? Or do I just want the feeling of buying something? Most of the time, they realize they just want the feeling. And the feeling goes away in about 15 minutes if you don't feed it. The fourth trap is what I call the deserve mentality. This one is sneaky because it sounds so reasonable. It sounds like self-care, like treating yourself, like not being too hard on yourself. But it's quietly destroying your financial future. Here's how it works. You work hard, you have a tough week, you're stressed, you're tired, and your brain whispers, you deserve a treat. So you order takeout instead of cooking. You deserve it. You buy something nice online. You deserve it. You book a vacation you can't quite afford. You deserve it. And you do deserve good things. That's not the issue. The issue is that deserve has become a justification for any spending you want to do. It's a mental permission slip to avoid thinking about whether something is actually a good financial decision. Let me be really specific about what this looks like. You're having a bad day at work. Your boss criticized something you did. You're feeling underappreciated. On the way home, you think, I work so hard and nobody appreciates it. I deserve to treat myself. So you stop at Target for one thing and leave with $150 worth of stuff, or you order an expensive dinner, or you buy those shoes you've been looking at. In the moment, it feels justified. You do work hard. You do deserve to feel better. And buying something gives you that little boost. But here's the problem. That boost lasts maybe an hour. The financial consequence lasts forever. You've just traded permanent money for temporary emotion. And here's what makes this really dangerous. Deserve is infinite. You can always find a reason you deserve something. Bad day, you deserve a treat. Good day, you deserve to celebrate. Regular day, you deserve something nice just because. It becomes a feedback loop. You spend money to feel better. The spending creates financial stress. The stress makes you feel like you deserve something to feel better. So you spend more money, and the cycle continues. This is why people making $100,000 a year can feel broke. They're constantly deserving things. Nicer restaurants because they work hard. Nicer clothes because they have a professional image to maintain. Nicer vacations because they've earned it. None of these individual decisions seems unreasonable. But collectively, they create a lifestyle where your income, no matter how high, never feels like enough. Because deserve scales with your income. You always deserve something just slightly beyond what you can comfortably afford. Wealthy people do something different. They separate deserve from afford. They might deserve a luxury vacation, but if it doesn't fit their financial plan, they don't take it. They might deserve a nice car, but they drive something more modest because they'd rather invest the difference. They've realized that the satisfaction from achieving financial goals lasts way longer than the satisfaction from treating themselves. Building wealth feels better than buying stuff, but it requires delaying that gratification. Seeing past the immediate deserve to the bigger picture. And here's the really important part. You do deserve good things. You deserve financial security. You deserve not being stressed about money. You deserve building wealth. But you can't consume your way to those things. You have to build your way there. And building requires sacrifice. Small sacrifices now for big rewards later. Every time you spend money on something you deserve, you're choosing immediate comfort over future freedom. And for most people, that's the trade that keeps them broke. The fifth and final trap is the complexity avoidance trap. This one might be the most damaging of all, because it's not about spending too much, it's about not building wealth. Here's what happens. Investing feels complicated. Starting a business feels overwhelming. Learning about money feels like work. So most people just don't. They tell themselves they'll do it later. When they have more money. When they have more time. When things are less chaotic. When they feel ready. But later never comes. Because the complexity doesn't go away. And in the meantime, years pass. Opportunities pass. Compound interest that could have been working for you just doesn't happen. Let me be really clear about the cost of this avoidance. Let's say you're 25 years old. You have $2,000 saved. You know you should probably invest it. But investing seems complicated. You don't know which platform to use. You don't know what to buy. You don't know if it's the right time. So, you don't do anything. You tell yourself you'll figure it out next year. Next year comes. You're busy. You still haven't figured it out. 5 years pass. Then 10 years. You're now 35. That $2,000 is still sitting in your savings account. It's actually worth less now because of inflation. You've lost money by trying to keep it safe. Meanwhile, if you just invested that $2,000 in a simple index fund, even without adding another dollar, it would be worth around $5,000 by now. If you'd added just $100 a month, it would be worth over $20,000. That's not a small difference. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of financial breathing room. That's freedom. And you lost it. Not because you spent it, but because you avoided the complexity of figuring out how to invest it. This is happening to millions of people right now. They're scared of making the wrong choice, so they make no choice. They're overwhelmed by options, so they choose nothing. They're waiting to feel confident, not realizing that confidence comes from doing, not from thinking about doing. Here's what makes this particularly cruel. The complexity you're avoiding isn't actually that complex. Opening an investment account takes about 15 minutes. Choosing a simple index fund takes another 5 minutes. Setting up automatic investments takes 3 minutes. 23 minutes total to potentially change your entire financial future. But it feels like it should be harder. It feels like you should need to understand everything before you start. So you read articles, you watch videos, you think about it, and you never actually do it. Meanwhile, someone else who knows less than you but is willing to just start, they're building wealth, not because they're smarter, not because they have more money, but because they acted despite the complexity instead of avoiding it. Wealthy people understand something crucial. You don't need to understand everything to start. You just need to understand enough. You can learn as you go. You can start small. You can make adjustments. But you have to start. Because every day you wait is a day of compound interest you'll never get back. Every month you delay is a month of potential growth that's gone forever. The complexity you're avoiding isn't protecting you. It's costing you. More than almost anything else on this list. Now here's what nobody wants to admit. And this is uncomfortable. So stay with me. All 5 of these traps have one thing in common. They feel good in the moment. They feel right. They feel justified. That's the problem. Being broke isn't the result of malicious decisions. It's the result of normal, human, reasonable-seeming decisions that compound over time into financial disaster. You're not staying broke because you're dumb or lazy or bad with money. You're staying broke because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Seek immediate reward. Avoid discomfort. Follow the crowd. Protect your ego. In our ancestral environment, those instincts kept you alive. In the modern financial world, those same instincts keep you broke. And here's the really mind-bending part. The system is designed to exploit these instincts. Marketing exploits your instant gratification impulse. Social media exploits your need to keep up with others. Consumer culture exploits your deserve mentality. You're not failing at some neutral game. You're playing against a system that's specifically designed to separate you from your money in ways that feel good. And most people never realize they're playing this game. They think they're just living their life, making normal choices, doing what everyone does. But what everyone does is designed to keep you broke. That's why everyone is broke. The people who build wealth aren't playing a different game. They're just aware they're playing a game. And that awareness changes everything. Let me tell you about Jessica. Jessica is 30 years old. She makes $75,000 a year. That's a good income. She should be doing fine financially. But she has about $2,000 in savings and $15,000 in credit card debt. Here's what Jessica's month looks like. She got a raise last year, so she moved to a nicer apartment. It's only $200 more per month, but it's so much nicer. She deserves it after working so hard. That's the lifestyle creep monster. Most of her friends make a bit more than her. They go out to nice restaurants. She doesn't want to be the one who always says she can't afford it, so she goes, and she charges it. That's the proximity tax. During the week, she's stressed. Work is hard, so she orders food instead of cooking. She buys things online to cheer herself up. Little things. A candle here, a book there. Nothing major. That's the instant gratification spiral and the deserve mentality working together. She knows she should invest. She has some money sitting in her checking account, but she doesn't understand the stock market. It seems risky. She'll figure it out when she has more saved. That's the complexity avoidance trap. Jessica isn't doing anything crazy. She's not buying designer purses every week. She's not going on expensive vacations constantly. She's just living her normal life, but her normal life costs more than she makes. The gap gets filled with credit cards, and every month, she pays interest on the privilege of having spent money she didn't have to buy things she didn't need to impress people who weren't paying attention. 10 years from now, Jessica will be 40. She'll be making more money, probably around $90,000 or $100,000 a year. And she'll still have almost no savings. Because every raise will just trigger the same patterns, the same traps, the same cycle. Jessica isn't financially illiterate. She's not irresponsible. She's just normal. And normal is designed to keep you broke. Now let me tell you about Michael. Michael is also 30 years old. He also makes $75,000 a year. But Michael has $60,000 in investments and no debt. What's Michael doing differently? When Michael got his raise last year, he moved his lifestyle up a tiny bit. He gave himself an extra $100 a month to spend on whatever he wanted. But the rest of the raise? It went straight to automatic investments. He never even saw that money. It was gone before he could spend it. That's defeating the lifestyle creep monster by making savings automatic. Michael has friends who spend more than him. He still sees them. But he suggests activities that are cheaper. Hiking, game nights at someone's house. Splitting a grocery bill instead of going to restaurants. When they do go out, he goes. But he doesn't go to everything. And he's comfortable saying, "That's outside my budget this month." That's refusing to pay the proximity tax. When Michael wants to buy something, he has a rule. He waits 48 hours. If he still wants it after 2 days, he buys it. Most of the time, the urge passes. He realizes he didn't actually want the thing. He just wanted the feeling of buying something. That's outsmarting the instant gratification spiral. When Michael has a bad day, he deals with it in ways that don't cost money. He calls a friend, he goes for a run, he plays video games he already owns. He's trained himself to separate emotional comfort from spending money. That's avoiding the deserve mentality trap. And 5 years ago, when Michael knew nothing about investing, he didn't let that stop him. He spent one weekend learning the basics. He opened an account. He bought a simple index fund. He set up automatic monthly investments. Then he let it run. That's refusing to let complexity be an excuse. Michael isn't smarter than Jessica. He doesn't have better opportunities. He doesn't have more willpower. He just sees the game. He understands the traps. And he's built systems that protect him from his own impulses. That's the entire difference. Here's what most people don't realize. Jessica and Michael aren't different types of people. They're the same person with different systems. Jessica is relying on willpower and good intentions. Michael is relying on awareness and automation. Jessica thinks she just needs to try harder, budget better, be more disciplined. Michael knows that discipline fails, systems succeed. And here's the reframe that changes everything. Staying broke isn't a character flaw. It's not a personality type. It's not who you are. It's just the natural result of normal human psychology and a system designed to exploit that psychology. Once you understand the game, you can stop playing it. Once you see the traps, you can avoid them. You don't need to become a different person. You don't need superhuman discipline. You don't need to never spend money on things you enjoy. You just need to see the patterns. Build simple systems. Make different default choices. Automate your savings so lifestyle creep can't get you. Choose your proximity circle carefully. Add friction to impulse purchases. Redefine what you deserve. Start building wealth even when it feels complex. These aren't complicated strategies. They're just different defaults, different automatic behaviors, different systems. And systems beat willpower every single time. Let's recap what we've covered. The lifestyle creep monster. Your expenses will rise to meet your income unless you consciously prevent it. The proximity tax. The people around you determine your spending baseline. Choose carefully. The instant gratification spiral. Your brain is wired for immediate reward. The modern world exploits this ruthlessly. The deserve mentality. Deserve has become an infinite permission slip for spending. It's a trap, the complexity avoidance trap. Not starting because something feels complicated costs you more than almost any mistake you could make. These patterns aren't personal failings. They're not signs you're bad with money. They're just predictable traps that catch almost everyone. The only difference between people who stay broke and people who build wealth is awareness. Can you see these patterns in your own life? Can you see the traps you've fallen into? The invisible psychological forces that have been quietly draining your wealth? Because here's the truth. You can make 6 figures and stay broke forever if you don't understand these patterns. Or you can make 40,000 and build real wealth if you do. Income matters. But psychology matters more. Systems matter more. Awareness matters more. The question isn't whether you make enough money. The question is whether you're going to keep letting these invisible forces run your financial life, or whether you're going to see them, understand them, and build systems that actually work. That decision is worth more than any raise you'll ever get.